My name's Keith Alexander. I live in Dublin, Ireland, and I'm an audio post-production professional. My specialty would be being diverse in my specialties, if that's an answer. I do everything. I mix, I edit, I do Foley, I record, whatever the project requires, I end up doing it, or I oversee it being done. I'm designing movies, designing TV shows, cutting TV shows, mixing TV shows, mixing films. We could be dubbing films. So absolutely anything could be happening at any stage during the day. What gear I use generally is Pro Tools from Avid, a digital audio workstation running on our Mac. We have the desk interfaced with that. It's all running, full surround sound from mono to stereo, etc. The other piece of kit that I absolutely adore is Steinberg Nuendo. We're the only ones in Ireland using it, but I use it a lot because I interact with my clients in Germany, and it's all over Germany. I love it because everything comes in the box. There's no add-ons, there's no nothing. You literally get everything you could possibly want for any sort of post-production workflow, be it film, TV, game. They have a very significant game interface. An ADR section that is just second to none. When I'm recording, I'd generally be recording in stereo or surround. And I find that my Zoom H2N really covers an awful lot of bases. This is it. This is my H2N. And on here is a switch, and I can switch between quad recording, stereo recording, MS, XY, 2-channel surround. And this is just, if I'm on my bike and I see something that I need to record, I can jump off my bike, have this set up in less than a minute and recording in full surround sound. There's 5 caps in here and they just sound gorgeous. If I need a stereo recording, I have a Rode IXY, which is just a stereo pair, plugs straight into the iPad software, hit record, it happens. This is a rugged little fella, and it does most of my recording, records to SD. Generally, I would use this for something more specific of good field stereo recordings that I want. I'd probably bring my iPad because of the quality of the Rode mics on there as well, but the caps on this sound absolutely gorgeous. So that's my main recorder, just for finding noises and taking pictures of where I've been, We just finished a big project for underwater stuff, and the whole series is shot underneath the ocean, and you got all these creatures and they got lumbering and they're gluttonous and they're slow moving, and then you got other small shrimp and fast moving, and they're alert all the time. So that derives a sort of sound design in itself. Let's take, for example, the weighted creature. What we do is we do a thing called Foley. And that Foley is basically recreating, because your man wasn't shooting any hydrophones or anything, and these creatures are so small, there's no audio coming from them. So I've got to recreate everything in the studio. So with the heavier creatures, we got to get a sense of, are they moving across sand? So I could be getting, breeze blocks and getting a big tank within the studio, wetting down a load of heavy sand and getting the breeze block and pressing it across there, so to give that. So now you've got a base to start working with. If it was rock, you could be getting 2 breeze blocks or 2 granite blocks or whatever else, and dragging those across each other, so you get a sense of the weight and the slowness of him walking across whatever he's going across. So there's a lot of sound effects used. depending on what the production is it using 5.1, is it in stereo? What's the delivery at the end of the day? The 5.1 gives you much more scope for playing with sounds in the background, in the foreground, moving stuff around the room and that sort of stuff.
Rochester's going to have that resonance forever of George Eastman and Kodak.
We just finished this documentary about a place in upstate New York, Rochester. There was a lot of shots of street shots, but they were all mute. There's no budget for me to jump on a plane and go to this exact place. So I took my surround recorder and I just went out in the local street. So you have to try and get a sense of areas that you would find the same sort of weight of traffic. Maybe not big trucks or whatever, because that would be a distinctive sound. Or you don't want to go near a fire station because the actual noises of the engines are far different. But you can get a sense of the movement of the traffic. If I need to bolster the bottom end to give it more weight and more noise, or the perspective. I love water. My favourite subject would be probably air and water. From the monumental orchestral cacophony that is deep down in the water and the big bass noises that travel through that, to you just sitting beside a slipway and you got your recorder, you got your cans on, and there's just a little lapping. You know, there's a whole dynamic there. You know what I mean? It is the full orchestra of what the sea delivers to you with sound. And it's the same with air. The first time I came across a recording device would have been as a kid. And we had this old Ferguson big piano button tape recorder. I shouldn't be saying this, but it was mainly used for my brother and sister to make up mixtapes from the radio. I was only a child. But I asked my dad, can I buy a tape? Because I saw my brother and sister using this machine and don't touch that because that's very expensive. And oh, okay, yeah. Suddenly I was allowed to buy my own cassette tape. And I brought it home and it was in red BASF and it was a square cassette tape. And I brought it home and it was like manna from heaven, you know. And I went home and I opened the cellophane and it was a whole ceremonial thing. And I got the tape and I put it in the machine. And I hit record, and it happened. It was just record, and I just turned it off again. And then I hit play, and then suddenly I heard what I had heard just 5 seconds ago. And you were here in the building? My mother was having a conversation downstairs. You know, you could hear the water running through the radiators. It was like, oh, holy moly. It was unbelievable, you know, that suddenly this whole world was opened up to me that you could capture like a time machine. Everything that was around me in that space around me, you know? It was amazing. What I do in my spare time is motorcycling, definitely motorcycling. I have to be outdoors. I can't stand roofs. So I need to be either out in my garden or up the mountains or out in the sea. We have a kayak, a big giant kayak, and either grab one or many of my kids and we'll just jump on the boat and go out into the Irish Sea and sit out there for 3 hours. Tips and advice to myself starting out. Talk to people. Do what you can. Knock on as many doors because if you want it, you need to chase it. And unless you chase it, it's never going to happen. So chase your dreams. Do everything you can to achieve that dream. You will end up doing loads of free hours or whatever else, and you hopefully will be in places that you learn from people that will give you invaluable information. And I fully believe that nothing goes to waste.